This comment says, I don't like how people are using the term eugenics loosely. We are talking about kids sleeping on the floor while the parents have a full bedroom and entertainment system like BFFR. You know what? It makes me think of back when I was living in sheer delusion in my pick me phase. And I had left an abusive marriage in 2008. And I believe it was 2009. I had gotten an apartment. And I was under the delusion that I wanted to have another baby. And I was telling this lady that I worked with at the time about this delusion of having another baby. And she kind of paused, and I could tell she was trying to bite her tongue, but she was like, yeah, no, I'm going to say this. And she looks at me and she goes, didn't you have to borrow money to pay your rent last month? How can you afford another baby? Was she being classist? Was it eugenics? Did she hate poor people and single mothers and people who struggle financially? Or was she simply trying to knock some common sense into my head? I was in a situation where I was barely scraping by to pay my bills every month. Mind you, it was because I was rebuilding my life after having been in an abusive relationship. However, that was also not the right time to bring another life into the world, knowing that I could barely rub two nickels together to feed myself and my two children. And we could have a conversation about how the government needs to help mothers and fathers, and they need to help take care of families and provide better funding. We could totally have a discussion about that. And we're doing things to get those things into place to help people. Totally understand that. However, in that moment, the reality of my situation was I could barely afford to feed myself and my two children. I could barely afford to put a roof over our heads. So, how would it make sense for me to have another child when I could barely feed the two I had? Where was I going to get? Now, wait a minute, I hear you. The government this, the government that. Trust me, I know I'm right there with you. But in that moment, I would not have had a way to pay for and provide for an additional child. So it would not have made sense. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't even want rich people having millions of children. And I've made videos about people who are wealthy, who are having millions of children. I don't like when they do it either. And they have the ability to provide for their children, but I still don't like it either because those children are going to struggle as far as getting attention from you and how involved you can be in their lives. Are there people who can't stand poor people and single moms and people who struggle? And yeah, are there people who absolutely hate children and that's absolutely gross? Yes. But sometimes you got to use your noodle and say, is this person hating? Or are they just like, hey, this is the reality of the situation, so maybe the decisions you're making aren't really good ones right now. Maybe sometimes it's that.